we have TeeJ Mercer on the Sales Podcast.
Woo-hoo!
Welcome to the show.
Yes, baby, yes.
Now, she was so thoughtful and planning ahead. She sent me this wonderful bio, and I just skipped to the bottom, and I'm going to challenge her. The world's greatest hugger.
Yes.
When I see you,
yes.
we shall see.
It's on and popping then.
It's on like Donkey Kong.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I totally messed up our time, so thanks for being flexible. I think I was reading your bio, and you're from like Nashville, right?
I'm from Jackson, Tennessee, between Memphis and Nashville.
Okay, so I totally messed up. 'Cause I was thinking East Coast time, and then you're in L.A., and then you said our time. Oh, well. But we are on.
Because we would always laugh about the Californians wearing socks and sandals. Right.
I know, but I got 7 kids running around. My nephews are over. They brought the dogs. My mom's here. I can't.
That's all right.
It's
That's
fortunate
all right.
I'm even vertical.
Well, I'm excited. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking Sales Whisper with the Media Maverick, there are bound to be shenanigans that will ensue.
I understand. So you did send me your bio, and I'm going to kind of sprinkle some things in as we go. But in a nutshell, you've been the behind the scenes for decades, producing and editing and bringing to light a ton of TV shows, even movies. We're going to get into your reality stuff. My Swamp People, I did that.
You like Swamp People?
That popped out to me. I kind of, sort of, but not really. But it is my people, so we do have to. I have been fishing in those bayous, shooting those water moccasins, so I do kind of relate.
Represent.
I have never killed an alligator with my hands, but I have shot some snakes.
Not yet, though.
Not yet.
But
I have eaten some alligator.
Okay.
And I've eaten all the stuff they bring out of that swamp.
Okay, gotcha.
So could you give us a little thumbnail sketch of who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, I actually am TeeJ Mercer. I am a retired award-winning television editor. I retired last year because my life just kind of took on a whole other turn. But before that, I've worked on some of the biggest shows on television. I started my career at Extra, then led to Access Hollywood and Tonight Show with Jay Leno. So depending on how old you are, if you remember the Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton scandals on The Tonight Show, all of those skits were my work. So
nice.
Yeah, and so then I moved into the publicity and DVD genre of television, where some of my credits include The Chronicles of Narnia, Shrek, Cars, The Incredibles. So I spent 8 years doing that, and then I turned into reality TV, where I spent another 8 years with, like you said, The Swamp People, The Bachelor, My Cat from Hell, LA Hair, R&B Divas. So you name it, I pretty much have done almost every genre of reality TV.
All right. So I have some questions. And the audience may or may not learn anything, but I want to know. It's my show.
Okay.
So you talk about like the Monica Lewinsky, whatever, those were your skits. So are you actually thinking them up? Do you have a team? Like, is Jay Leno sitting in there saying, hey, let's pick on Monica Lewinsky? I mean, how does that work?
It was a team of us. So we had the writers, who would go into the meetings every day and decide on, okay, what we're going to talk about today. Then they're going to shoot it. So we had the lookalikes, the impersonators, and then we'd come up with the script, and then they bring it up to me, and then I would put my spin on it, my twist on it. And Jay was off doing other things. It was his team that was more or less, coming up with the content.
And so were you an editor? Were you a producer? I mean,
at that point, I was an editor. So I was responsible for taking all the footage. And for those of people who don't necessarily understand, when I say I'm an editor, I tell my stories with video. I'm not a writer. I actually hate to write. 3 books later, and I still hate to write. But when I was working as a TV editor, I would tell my stories through video.
Okay. I guess the point I want to get across to people, A, is that it does take a team, and B, there's a lot more grunt work, for lack of a better word, to bring something quality to market than they might think, right?
Right. I mean, there's hundreds of people who it takes to bring a television show to air. Like Wes, how long or are you familiar with, like, when I speak to my mom's middle schoolers, my mom is a teacher, I would ask them how long do they think it would take me just to edit an hour long show, and I would explain to them an hour long show is really only 42 minutes, and I
Right.
would ask them how long do you think it would take me to just edit that show. And so, they'd say a couple of hours, some would say 6 hours. And when I would tell them, typically I'm given about 6 weeks to edit,
Wow.
an hour long show, they all would go, "Are you slow? Are you any good?" you know. So that just gives you an overall look as to
Wow.
what it really takes to produce a TV show. One
Now,
hour of television.
now is that 20 years ago? Or is that still today?
Oh, that's still today.
And
That's
is
still
that
today.
because you're putting in music and
I'm doing basically, you say swamp people. So, we'd go out and we'd shoot an episode typically is shot over the course of one day. I mean, one week.
okay.
So you spend one week with about 3 or 4 cameras, 10 hours a day. That's, 3 cameras, 10 hours a day. That's 30 hours of footage. So to multiply that times 5 or 6 days, that you're looking at 180 hours of footage. Well,
Oh yeah.
for one episode, so that 180 hours has to be drilled down into a 42-minute show. That's where I come in.
Now that's for reality, but I guess like a traditional sitcom, would it take that long because it's in the studio and it's a little more scripted?
They usually turn it around in a week too, and that genre is called scripted.
Okay.
So when we say scripted, we're referring to episodics as well as sitcoms. So
Okay.
the episodics, I'm talking about the Scandal, the Law and Order, the CSIs, those kind of shows are called episodics.
Okay.
And so from that standpoint, they typically are on average turned around in a week
Right. Yeah,
because there's a whole team. It's scripted, it's written out. They know
right.
exactly what they're going to go
Because they
shoot.
know camera A, camera B, boom, 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 and versus reality, it's like you don't know what the heck's going to
You're
happen.
gonna know what you're gonna get. I
Right.
mean, we have an idea, like, we'll have an outline of what we want it to be, but
Right.
you have no idea. For instance, there's a scene that if a fight happens at dinner, well, that fight, the tempers are flaring over the course of the week. Somebody has said something wrong, somebody has said something this way. And so it has taken a week for tempers to get to the point that by the time we get to the dinner, there's this big fight that happens. Well, I have to now take that and make it make sense so it doesn't look like Jerry Springer,
Mhm.
the people just coming out swinging. That there's a reason, why all of a sudden someone has gotten mad and thrown wine at somebody.
Right.
So that you never know what you're going to get, and you
Right.
still have to build the story so that it makes sense for the audience.
That's alcohol abuse, man. I get sad when I see something get spilled. Yeah.
Did you say that's alcohol abuse?
But I digress.
Okay, yes, let's get back on track.
I've been known to get a straw and get on the floor, but anyway. All right.
Too much information. I don't like the visual, Wes. I don't like that
It
visual.
depends it depends on if that was a quality box wine or like out of a plastic bag wine. I do have standards.
You have standards. Okay, okay.
All right. So we fast forward to your new career.
Yeah.
What do our listeners need to know to capture media, to get their voice out there, to get their image out there? Because there is no way I'm getting 3 cameras. There's no way I'm getting more than 1 camera. It's sitting right here, probably on my iMac here. Don't have the patience. Certainly don't have the money. So what have you learned over those years? Let's start with what compelled you to make the shift from that big production world to doing it on your own to help, because you're working with individuals now, right?
Right. I'm a media coach now. So I primarily work with authors, experts, entrepreneurs, business owners, and help them leverage media to explode their brand. And so what I've done is I've just taken my 20 years of being a storyteller, of knowing some of the producers, knowing what makes a good story, and I prefer to work with heart-centered entrepreneurs because, and to answer your question directly, what does it take? Well, my company is called Media Mavericks Academy. And so for all of my Mavericks, they must show up to serve. That is the first thing that I drill into them. They have to come with a heart to educate or make the viewers' lives, makes the audience lives better. And so I teach them the acronym WIIF TV. what's in it for the viewer, or for, in this case, what's in it for the listener, WIIFTL. You're always tuned to what serves the viewer. You are not there to promote. You are there to serve. You serve first, and then as a byproduct of you really showing up with the heart to serve, you're going to sell.
Okay. So, sounds good in theory.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do you sort these people out? Because I mean, they can say all the right things, but how do you know they're there to serve and not just a greedy SOB?
Well, what I have done is I've started doing one-on-one consults, and I can hear if they're looking at, I want to sell more books, and then I get into more conversation of that it's really just about the money. I'm not the media coach for you. I mean, there are other media coaches. I'm just not that person, because the people that I connect you with, the people who I open doors for, they want to make sure that I have vetted and that you understand the premise. You are not there to just hold up your book. I'm teaching you how to actually serve the viewers so it gets the viewer from your site, from the screen back to the site. You're leaving me already?
Oh, go ahead. As you were saying.
But yeah, so hold that up for me.
I look better with $2
than a big smile, a good idea on Twitter to build a business that lasts. Okay, so what we would do, Wes, if you were come to me, and I know you are hard.
Should I flap them? Like,
you could, but can we consider another option?
Okay. I'm
okay.
Open, but it better be a good idea.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we could do that, but let's just consider another option. But we would look at, out of all your body of work, Wes, what are the 4 key points that you've learned that you want to communicate to the viewer of how to build a more successful business? That is serving. We are looking at what is the problem that this particular viewer, this listener is having, and how do you solve it? And then I have to take how long have you been the sales whisperer? How long have you been a sales whisperer?
Since I was born.
Okay, can we drill that down of how long you've been making money as the sales whisperer?
10 years. I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary.
Okay, so then you've learned quite a bit. So we have to drill that down into 4 to 5 bite-sized chunks that can be communicated in a media-savvy way.
Okay. So you help people hone in basically on their USP, right? On their sound bites, really, for lack of a better term, because that's what's going to get the attention of these producers, right?
That's absolutely what's going to get the attention of the producers. And the producers once again are not interested in you promoting. They've got 1,000 people, so what, you just came out with a new book. What makes that book interesting? How are you going to serve the audience with that book? So then you've got to go through the book and find out the nuggets.
Right.
And,
the one thing that I've learned, I've known quite a few best-selling authors, sat down with them one-on-one, and it was a little disheartening when I heard how, I mean, you got to promote so much, and to be like a New York Times bestseller, it seems like it's basically you got to pay to play.
Yes.
You got to have deep pockets to make it. So it's like, I mean, is it all pre-produced? I mean, like, what the heck is real out there anymore?
Well, are you talking about in the terms of reality TV, or are you talking about in the interviews, the morning show interviews, the Good Morning America, the Today Show, those kind of things?
Well, I would like to know that.
Okay.
But, I was asking, I mean, a good friend of mine came out with a book. He hit the bestsellers list, and this was 16
Can I
years.
wait? Can I just tell the viewers that I sweat when I get excited? So,
That's all good.
that's why you see me doing this. And then plus I underestimated how warm it was going to be in LA today. So,
it's friggin' hot. Good.
Yes.
Grief. We're hotter than you because we're in the desert. So it gets colder and it gets hotter. But
so I just had to put that out there because I get excited. If you got me talking longer than 3 to 5 minutes, I'm a sweat. Woo! So there you go.
All right. That's
okay.
Good.
So keep going. So you were saying.
Yeah. So he told me he basically would never do it again. He said it was so much work. So I mean, it's more work to publicize and promote and get the book out there than it is to write the book.
Right. It is.
So,
it is.
I mean,
but
there never do it again.
there are ways to do that, and you could hire a publicist, and that's where really actually in Media Mavericks Academy, that's where my sweet spot is, because I'm far less expensive than hiring a publicist. An average publicist on the low end is going to be $500 a month. They're not going to be that good at that rate. Or on the high end, it's going to be $3,500 a month. And pretty much all cases, they're going to want you to have a 3-month retainer.
Okay.
So my sweet spot is I teach you how to book yourself on television without having a publicist, without being a celebrity. And then not only do I do that, I then turn around and teach you how to crush the segment so that you get invited back.
Oh,
and
nice.
The reason why I know it's possible is because I've done it. I've booked myself around the country that's how you and I started having this conversation, is because I wanted to make sure that my program of what I was teaching was solid. So I didn't let any of my Hollywood connections make calls on my behalf. I started with just my cell phone and my laptop. So it is possible, but you have to be, it's possible that it could be less expensive than having a publicist, but it is going to require some persistence and some resilience, because you're going to be smiling and dialing.
Right.
Well,
that's the interesting thing that I see more and more is that underneath the hood, if you will, underneath the covers of everything that I've looked at, there was a guy that's very good with SEO. And one of his SEO secrets is he writes a good blog post, and then he hustles. He reaches out to 200 people with blogs of the similar interest and says, hey, will you share this? I'll write a custom intro for you.
Yeah.
And you're talking about, hey, you can get on TV if you can smile and dial. So, I mean, it's like 101, sales 101, hustle 101, but it's just, you go to these different mediums, and it's just.
But the payoff, though, I mean, if you really think of the payoff, when all things are the same, your competitor, same price, same quality, same everything. But when that customer or that client comes to your site and they have you have as seen on ABC, NBC, CBS, you can't pay really for that kind of credibility.
Right.
You can't pay, like one of my clients is a regular on Steve Harvey's show. You can't pay for that kind of credibility.
Right.
And in fact, one of my mavericks is a publicist. So she's able to book herself, but she didn't know how to crush the segment. She was doing something for Huffington Post Live. Now, on her website, when it comes down to somebody making a decision between the two of you, who do you think the client is going to go for? Right. That's when all the hustling and the smiling and dialing is really going to pay off. And, Wes, media begets more media, begets more media, begets more media. Right. Once ABC says, oh, TeeJ is a bomb at this and she's a beast at this, then NBC is going to say, and it happens all the time. Right. You just need that one solid interview that you can then leverage into another interview.
So do we need a book? Like, that person listening to this may be thinking, I don't have a book. I'm a little small time, whatever, chiropractor. Pick it, right? And
right.
So do they need a book? Do they need a kind of hook like that? Or, I know it helps, right?
It definitely helps. It depends also on what market you're in. Okay. In a market like, ours, where we're at the number 2 market, we're LA, New York is number 1, LA is number 2, Chicago's 3, Philly's 4, and Dallas is 5. In the top 10 markets, you have to be a lot more savvy and you have to be a lot more credentialed, if you will. However, in the smaller markets where we're, if you've never done media, the first thing I'm going to get you is let's start in the 31 market and the 32, where they're hurting for content. So they necessarily won't need you to have a book, but you still need to position yourself as you're the expert. If nothing else, I can talk about this. Right. And then, Wes, I don't know if your friend told you this, but really in this culture of what, where we are with book publishing and everything, a book really is an expensive business card.
Yep.
It's getting you to the table. It's positioning you as if you sat down and wrote a book. So apparently you must know a little bit about it. But it's not like you're going to do huge book sales unless you've got major publishers pushing you. And even then, major publishers are expecting authors to come with their own platforms.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, no, I won't say you have to have a book, but it does depend on the market that you're going in.
All right, so let's use me as a guinea pig. I do have a book. I got 2 books actually, but the Infusionsoft is more specific. So I would go with that. Although talking about Infusionsoft, I could piggyback on news of technology stocks, of Salesforce, things like that, because I am in the software and the automation space. But
Mm-hmm.
let's say like Palm Springs, do they have their own? They have their own TV
Yeah, they have
channel,
their
right?
own affiliates.
Okay.
Absolutely. What you would want to do, Wes, is also keep your eye on the news for sure, because you want to do what we call news jacking.
Yep.
So you want to, and I guess I should explain that for people who don't know what news jacking is. News jacking is really when you're watching what's happening on the national level and taking it and applying it to the local level, or in blogs, or in podcasts, or in other outlets that you can take an example. Prime example, Beyonce just happened. Super Bowl. I mean, there are 50 million ways you can actually talk about that. You can talk about it from a marketing standpoint. You can talk about it from a branding standpoint of how she's built her brand of loyal followers. You can talk about it from, the social media standpoint of how Red Lobster was asleep at the wheel, and they waited hours to respond to this. For those of you, if you've been living on the rock, Beyonce right before Super Bowl dropped a song that had a very provocative lyric that contained Red Lobster. Red Lobster didn't respond for about 12 hours, and then it was a weak tweet. Mind you, their sales still went up by 30%. So you could talk about it from that standpoint. So basically, you're news jacking the Beyonce fiasco. Is that the right word? Not
Wasn't a fiasco.
It wasn't fiasco. That's the wrong word. I meant the
A
Beyonce.
circus.
Okay, that's the word. But you can use the Beyonce circus and take it to apply of how does it relate to you. And so then that's one way. The second way is you keeping up with the national days, Small Entrepreneur Day, National Business Day. So you would then go to the Palm Springs, and if we were working together, I would say, okay, you're going to hit Palm Springs, you're going to hit San Diego, you're going to hit Santa Barbara, with this particular pitch. And you may have to craft it different ways depending on what serve WIIF TV, what is in it for their viewer. Because San Diego may not want what Santa Barbara does. So you
Sure.
may have to craft it a different way.
So, all right, let's look at both of those. So, like Beyonce.
Yes.
So, I mean, I could do something with it. It takes more than a big smile, Twitter, good idea on a Twitter account, right? Beyonce has more than a big smile and a good idea. She's got a machine behind her.
Right.
So I could talk about how she leverages the team. I could talk about how Red Lobster didn't have their eye on the ball.
Right.
Now, would I do what? A podcast? Would I write a blog? Would I do a Periscope and stream it, or do I write up a little quick article and fire it off to these news channels and say, "Hey, have me on TV and let's talk about Beyonce and business and how small businesses can follow Beyonce's footsteps to grow their business"?
You would do a little both. You would do where you're comfortable at. If you were going for TV, which is my sweet spot, we would craft a pitch around that. And we would look at, the website of, let's say, ABC San Diego or what have you. And we'd see, do they have a business segment? Do they have a business minute? Who is that reporter? Who will we reach out to say, can we shoot, how about this? Have you looked at this angle? Because San Diego may not have the same kind of experts that LA has. So they'll be hungry for you. And we would look at, okay, but in that one email, Wes, how can we come at this different way? So maybe they don't like that angle. Maybe they'll like, how to apply it to the social, the smaller entrepreneur of how Beyonce even built this following before she had the team. What are some of the things that she did that the smaller business owners can start doing right now?
Right.
So we would look at how many different ways we could come at this angle, so that if the producer doesn't like the first one, oh, okay, I didn't like that one, but oh, this one looks a little good, better. This one looks like it's interesting. And so, and I just had that happen the other day where I was working on behalf of one of my clients with an Atlanta producer, and she didn't like how I went in. She didn't like the initial pitch, but she liked what my client was up to in the world. And so we spent about 20 minutes trying, for me to say, okay, if you don't like that, well, how about if we talk about this? Okay, well, how about, and we ended up coming with something that she loved because she knows her audience. I knew my client. And so it's the same thing. And I teach my clients all the time, if you can't get in the door one way, go in the back door, baby, and knock on
Right.
the back door, because we have to help the producers we have to help them help wait, we have to help them help us help them. Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
I got you. So you obviously had a relationship with this person. I mean, they're not going to spend 20 minutes on the phone the first time you call.
Well, it depends. I've had that happen. In this case, I did use some of my connections to get to this producer. So there was a an introduction there. But when I was going after Houston, Houston is the number 8 or 9 market. I had never talked to these producers, but I told them, and this is when I was pitching how to create or sell your reality show, or I could talk about how to increase your odds on getting on a reality show because that's what my second book was about. So I told her, listen, I could talk about either one of them. What serves your viewer? What, and I did it with you, Wes. Remember when you first reached out to me and we talked, I said, my first question to you was, what serves your listeners? How do I serve them? I'm always keeping that in mind. And so when I'm talking to the producers, I'm saying, this is what we can talk about. This is what we can talk about. Will this help? Because they don't know what's up here.
Right.
So I have to tell them so then they could, especially, I don't know Houston. I'd never been to Houston.
I've been to
But
Houston. I'm from Houston.
oh well, there you go.
You
Had I
should have
known
called
that,
me.
I would have. I should have called you.
All
But
right.
at the time, which makes my program even better because I built the program based on the mistakes that I made. But at the time, I didn't know that. But she liked me enough. She liked what I had to offer enough to get on the phone with me and figure this out.
And
You know.
so were you on their show? I mean, do they fly you out, or do you pay that on your own, or what?
No, okay. So that's a excellent question. Let me bust someone's bubble. These shows do not pay you on the local level.
Right.
On the national level, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. The Steve Harveys may pay you, but they look at it as we're getting ready to give you a platform of tens of millions of viewers. You can't spend the $500 to get to us. You know what I'm saying? And so the same thing goes with the local media. And what I teach my Mavericks is where there's not a city. I don't care if I'm on vacation. There's really not a city that I'm gonna go to that if I have time, I'm not gonna try to pitch media. I'm
Right.
already there. And
Right.
all I'm doing is building my credibility and I'm building my Rolodex,
Oh,
of contacts.
all right. So on that pricing thing, I always wonder. Like Beyonce, is she paid to do that Super Bowl show, or I mean, she's launching an album. The timing's perfect. How
You
does that
know,
work?
now
I'm just
that
curious.
well, that I'm not sure. My first instinct is to say, yes, she's being paid, but she may not be charging the same amount she would be charging someone
Right.
else to do a concert
Right.
because it's over 100 million people,
Yeah, it's
you
big
know,
time. All right.
and there's concessions that, okay, I won't charge you my fee to perform,
I,
but you,
I
oh,
would put on a full body leather suit if
the
if the sale.
visual, the visual,
I've been working out.
the visual though, Wes,
Had the sales whisper
visual.
on it.
The
I have
visual,
books like
the visual, West.
I feel
Okay,
like a
the
spine.
visual
I feel
though.
like a dinosaur with the spines of my book going down my back. I would do that for free for 150 million people.
You know, I'm not gonna be too far behind you. I'll
Hey,
be like, okay, Wes, if I hold your book, can I just get on with that?
hey, there are
But at the
pictures. There are pictures online of me
oh
with
boy,
barrettes in my hair and my girls painting my toenails. So look, I have
and you did
done
that for free. There you go.
for free.
But at the end of the day, I would think that just from, how I know the industry work, that she may not charge her fee, but you remember Pepsi sponsors the halftime show, but Pepsi is picking up the tab for the musicians, for the pyrotechnics, for all the other aspects.
Right.
So there's different ways, to make it a win-win situation.
All right, so I newsjack the news,
Hmm.
and I reach out to Santa Barbara, Palm Springs. They agree to see me. Now, so how do I crush it, like you said, so I get invited back?
The way you crush it, and I know I'm gonna sound like a broken record, is you think of the viewers first. You have the conversation with the producer of what from their demographics. What do you need to talk about? Then I would look at okay. I put it to you like this. So my client is Patrice Washington. Patrice Washington is Steve Harvey's money expert. So she's on Steve Harvey every week dishing money advice. And so Patrice and I ran into each other at a book signing. and she was getting ready to go out for her media tour. She's on a media tour now because she just came out with her book. And so because she didn't have to necessarily knock on the Steve Harvey door, they came to her. She never looked at the media as a strategy. So all she's been doing is kind of reacting to the platform. Well, when I met her and I started asking her questions and was asking, okay, so what are you driving people to do? What do you want the viewers to do as a result of your segment? And she looked like a deer caught in headlights. Fast forward, she booked time with me. I coached her for 4 hours, and what I did was I took all of what she was doing something called I Can Earn More. The first thing, she was a challenge that she was doing. The first thing I did was, okay, so that's not empowering. You're going to change that to I will earn more, and you're going to change that everywhere. So that was the first thing she had to do. The second thing is I crafted an acronym for her, EARN, earn. And so we took that and made that bite-sized chunks. And then we crafted on what language do you need to put in there so it doesn't feel salesy, but yet you're still getting the viewer to do what you want them to do, which is to get them to your website, opt into your list. So her first interview was with Fox and Friends. She called me as soon as she was done with the interview and said, "TeeJ, 5,000 people has opted into the email list.
Woo.
And Fox News in Atlanta already wants me to book time with them."
Nice.
That's because we have to work on the language. It's all in the language because you only have 3 to 5 minutes. And if you don't know how to talk in sound bites, if you don't know how to actually, I call it drill down your genius. That's what I call it. If you don't drill down your genius, you're going to go on and be rambling.
Right.
And so she comes to me afterward, after she's done a couple segments. She said, "I told my husband, I will never do a launch without TeeJ."
Woo.
Yes, that was like, yeah. I was like, then I said, "Can you send me a video testimonial?"
Amen.
And she did, and she
gotta
absolutely
ask.
did. Yeah, she did. But that is exactly what you have to do because you have to anticipate what the host is going to ask you and be able to answer it no matter how the host is going to ask. So I'm going to drill you on your sound bites. If I was like, "Wes, I'm going to send you a text. Wes, what is your sound bite for this?" You should be able to tell me. The only thing that will happen in the interview is you listen to how they ask you the question, answer the question a little bit at the top, and then go right into the answer you want to give.
Right. Just
You
like
know?
politicians, huh?
Exactly. What was that happened at somebody? What was it that when Donald Trump missed one of the debates,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and who was it, Cruz or Rubio, that had all these zingers? It was like, yeah, they want zingers. Y'all have practiced that behind the scenes. Somebody wrote that for you, and it's like, and my best compliment is when someone comes off natural.
Right.
It's like, no, it was all strategy. Don't get it twisted. It was all strategy, but I taught you to do it naturally so it doesn't feel scripted.
Right. So when they say, like, "So Wes, why does your breath stink so bad?" So you know what? That's a great question because bubblegum sales should be higher than they are, but we're outsourcing the jobs to Mexico, and I refuse to buy bubblegum from a non-U.S. manufacturer. So go America, let's build a fence and make the Mexicans pay for it, right?
Okay, we work on that a little more, but you getting the gist.
All right. All right. So after she's on Fox and Friends and then Atlanta wants her, are the chances pretty high then they're going to at least pay her travel because they're now coming after her? Or is that kind of a calculated risk you got to take? It's like it's still a big market. Go ahead.
It's a calculated risk, and she was headed to Atlanta.
Okay.
There are outlets that will pay you to come or what have you, but it comes from your work early.
Right.
It's like once you've got to put the skin in the game.
Right.
You've got to be, because how else would they notice you if you haven't been on
Right.
your own dime, flying yourself to this? And that's one of the things that I teach in Media Mavericks is how to build a cost-effective media tour.
Right.
How do you build that so that you're getting the experience and the video proof that you have teeth and you can talk on camera,
Yep.
but it still keeps the cost low. And still, at the end of the day, when you do that, it's still going to be cheaper than a publicist.
Sure.
It's an investment. You have to look at it as an investment.
I mean, what's the risk that you get booted or there's a flood, there's a natural disaster, oh my gosh, and then you fly all the way to Atlanta like, "Hey, sorry," there's a major pileup, there's fog, there's ice.
Breaking
We gotta
news.
we gotta cover that, and
It's breaking news. Yeah, that it happens, and there's really nothing you can do about it. When I went with Patrice to KCAL, our local station here, that was the day that the inmates had made that big prison break. And of course, it was no, there was a day. It was the day they captured one of them. I don't know
okay,
why I'm pointing you with my pen,
I'm
but
listening. You have my attention.
but it was the day that they captured one of them, and they captured it was breaking news right before her segment.
Right,
So we're sitting there, and I'm going, I'm trying to warn her, you may get bumped. It depends on how long this is going to last.
right,
You may get bumped, and they're apologetic, but the viewers want to know about this prison break. They don't
right,
necessarily want to know how to budget their money. You know what I'm
right.
saying? And there's really, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. But producers typically still will rebook you. Now, if you've flown somewhere,
Right.
just for that, that may be, a little hard for you to do. But yeah, it happens. You will get bumped for more pressing breaking news.
But I mean, hey, as long as they don't have big security with tasers, you could always run through, right? Go across
Well,
the anchor desk.
there's one way, Wes. However, let's consider the fact that we just be gracious and suggest that, well, if I stay overnight, how about tomorrow morning? So that you get the full 3 minutes as opposed to you sprinting across the screen. How about you consider that?
All right, good
Uh,
thing
You
we're
know,
talking.
I'm all about the win-win.
Good thing we're talking.
I'm trying to save you from yourself, apparently.
I need it. So,
These
folks,
are
that's
excellent questions, though. These are excellent
that's
questions.
why my mom's here, my wife's here. I got you. I mean, I'm getting surrounded. I still mess up. Good grief. All right. So, what about? Do you get into online marketing with people, or is it more around the strategy to get in the door, get their foot in the door, and get interviewed? And before I forget, like, do you recommend radio as well? So I mean,
Yeah.
couple.
My sweet spot is television, so I
Okay.
can only really teach from that perspective.
Okay.
But everything that I teach you is leveraged in radio, in print,
Right.
in online, and as you know, when God gave me the vision for Media Mavericks and gave me the mandate to start it, I knew that I wanted my Mavericks to dominate all platforms. I want them to dominate in print. I want them to dominate in TV, radio. I want them to dominate in sales. Hint, 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 hint. But because what's the point of doing all this media if I don't teach you also how to leverage it,
Right.
But because it's growing and it's building, I'm now adding all of these elements to it, so that once you do the segment, a West can come through sales wise and say, okay, now let's look at your funnels. Let me teach you about your sales funnels.
Right.
Let me teach you what is the product that you're going to really be upselling them into. So
Right.
we're going to have your nurture sequence of emails, but so it is going to grow to that. But if nothing else, I know how to stay in my lane, and my
Right.
lane is the TV lane.
Right.
And what's happening is I'm finding other experts to align with. Like, one of my Mavericks is the LinkedIn professor, and she's one of 40 people in the world who have that Google and LinkedIn certification. So what she's done for this round of Mavericks is she's built a product for them to now, let's see how we get to the producers through LinkedIn.
Right.
Without the smiling and dialing.
Right.
Let's see how we leverage our LinkedIn. Let me teach you how to really use LinkedIn to make money. She comes to me all the time, Coach, you're leaving so much money on the table. Let me help you. You're leaving so much money, because I don't do LinkedIn well,
Right.
But that's the same thing. I'm adding elements. I would love to, have the element of sales so that they can know, what do I need to do now to up level to, now that I've served them, how do I really, serve and sell?
Right. Well, I guess we're gonna have to talk.
We're going to have to talk.
All right. So we've been talking a little while. What do you have for our listeners? Because you were gracious enough to make a little something something for us, right?
Yes, I always come bearing gifts. So the gift I'm
It's a
bearing.
Southern thing.
Yes, it is a Southern thing. I'm a Southern girl. So if you go to whisperer.icmeontv.com, you're going to find a nice little report that's actually going to walk you through how to go from media wannabe to to Media Maverick. And you start by actually knowing what are the 4 mistakes media wannabes make. And that is available again at whisper.iseemeontv. So you say it with a ring too. iseemeontv.com. iseemeontv.com. You know, you have to say it with the ring, but it's whisper.iseemeontv.com. And if I may, Wes, I would love to leave, you know, this as a parting thought, as when people ask me, what is the best advice I can give? I tell them to always show up to the media with spunk. And spunk is an acronym, okay? Spunk, S, you sparkle. Now, I don't care if it's a print interview. I don't care if it's a radio interview where you can't be seen. I don't care if it's a TV interview. The TeeJ that you see talking to Wes now is going to be the TeeJ who's doing a radio interview and you can't see me. The TeeJ is going to be the same interview for a newspaper. You have to sparkle. They have to know that your personality is coming through in the interview. P, passion. If nothing else, I think you can tell I'm passionate about what I teach. That should be you in every single medium of the media. You have to show them that you're passionate about your creds. You have to show them that you're passionate about the subject matter that you're talking about. You have to show them that you're passionate about the product that you're delivering. You understand it's a partnership. Wes is giving me the opportunity to expand and let more people know about the fabulousness of TeeJ. You know, I understand it's a partnership, but Wes also understands that I have expertise that his listeners may not know. So it's a give and take. We're in this together to serve the audience. So don't lose focus that it is a partnership. That is not the time for your ego to show up. That is not the time for it to be all about you. Well, yeah, those are your guns, Wes. Okay, thank you. I see them. But we understand it's a partnership. And so that is why one of my first questions to him was, what serves your listeners? That's because I understand it's an honor. I don't take the platform lightly because I understand it's a partnership. In nuggets of knowledge, you don't have all day to tell everything that you know. You only give them the nuggets that will get them moving, serve them so that they can get to your site so that you then can have more time to influence them. But that is not the time to show how smart you are. You have to just give them nuggets. And then K. K is, I just forgot what my K is, Wes. What's my K?
K stands for good Scotch.
No, oh, K, no, K, I got it. Like, what's my K? K is a knowing. Knowing that your credibility has earned you that spot. I show up with confidence knowing that regardless if the interviewer has come to me or I have pitched them, I know I've earned it. I spent 20 years getting this information. I've earned this. So there's a confidence that shows up. Now, if you want to get on here and talk about cooking, we're going to have a problem. I don't know how to cook. But when I show up, I know that if nothing else, I can talk to you about media. So whatever that is for you, in your case, Wes, is sales. Can nobody talk to you about anything about sales that you aren't even looking at or have experienced it yourself? So there's a knowing that you show up, that you've earned the right to be there. You've earned that spot to be there, regardless if you've pitched CNN and they picked you up or they've called you, you've earned it. So show up knowing it. Right. So that's spunk.
Amen. I like it. And all these notes, I got some notes here, will be in the show notes as well, so people can get that.
Good.
And I love that part about knowing, because Zig Ziglar always said, selling is a transference of a feeling, and that feeling is confidence. I tell my people, you need to understand that in your lane, and that may be a narrow lane, but that's fine. You're an expert in that lane. And so regardless of who you're talking to, Donald Trump, Richard Branson, Oprah, I mean, you sell computers, you sell podcasting, you sell chiropractic care. You know more about that than they do.
That they do, exactly.
So stand your ground, and if they've invited you on or invited you over for a sales meeting, for a demo, you know more. So own that space, own that minute,
Yep.
and and stand and deliver.
And and what the other part of what I say is I can work with your anxiety, I can work with your nervousness, but what I can't really give you is the confidence in your product. I can't give you the confidence in your message. You have to know, like you know, like you know, like you know. If nothing else, I can talk about this and
Right.
whatever that this is. Then I can then come in and tell you, okay, now how I'm gonna take that confidence, I'm gonna shape it. I'm gonna teach you how not to be nervous when if worry about how they're how they're asking you a question. But you said it, you have to own that space. And I
Right.
like that you own it because no one is really going to come and deem you the expert until you walk around thinking, I'm a beast at this. I'm
Right.
the expert,
Right.
So I like that. I like that a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like this. I like you have spunk too, Wes,
How
just so
you
you
like?
know.
How you
You have
like that?
spunk.
How you like that? Kind of crazy the way that works. All right, TeeJ has been in the house. So we'll have links to it
Yes.
again, whisper.icmeontv.com. But your main website is where?
My main website is mediamavericks.tv.
Okay. And we will link to that as well. So follow TeeJ on Twitter and all. We'll have those links there.
Yay!
So
Thanks for
thank
letting me
you.
come play, Wes. This was so fun. It was
Woo.
such an honor.
Thanks for coming on the show.
I
Have a
thank
great
you.
day. Open the windows, turn on the fan, have a cool iced tea,
Yes.
and iced tea and chill.
Yes. And I'll see you on Facebook and Twitter with all your shenanigans.
All right. Hey, thanks for coming on the show.
All right. See you later.
Bye.